Let's move on to some political matters now, where another prominent Democratic Alliance member is leaving the party. The organization's Gauteng member of the legislature, Makashule Gana, has announced that he's resigned. Gana joined the DA as a student when he was just 19 years old and has served in various positions. For more on this, he's joining me now in studio for a little bit of a conversation around his decision. 20 years is a very long time to be part of the organization. When did you start to see that DA was no longer the place that could initiate the kind of change you want to see in South Africa?
Good morning, Rufia, and good morning to the viewers, eNCA viewers. For me, it's a decision that took a bit of time. I think towards the end of last year, but I needed to run on it. You know, I'm a runner, so I ran a lot of kilometers reflecting on it. But importantly, and what's currently happening in Kagiso brings to light or to the surface what's wrong with South Africa now. Many South Africans live in fear. That's true. Politics in South Africa, the current politics as we know it, the culture of politics is failing the people. And that's why you end up having people talking about taking the law into their hands, wherein the police themselves seem not to be accountable to the communities. They seem to be scared more of politicians rather than the communities. And this is part of the culture that we need to change. And for me, seeing where South Africa is and looking at where the DA is and is trying to go, I believe that there is time in South Africa for a new political alternative, an alternative that's centered on the people, that's centered on the communities, where we are able to hold the government officials, not only politicians, but including government officials. Because, for instance, the issue in Kagiso, where's the station commissioner? He's probably sitting in his or her office in the station, where it's supposed to be there on the ground, addressing the issues, interacting with the community. But at the moment, there's no accountability. There's nothing that the station commissioner can say, all right, this is what's happening in Kagiso, there's a protest, there's the issue of illegal miners, there's Amazamas, people are feeling unsafe, and it's across the board. It doesn't matter where you live in South Africa at the moment, we are all feeling unsafe. And these are the issues that are being done as a result of the current political culture. And for me, leaving the DA is part of changing that political culture.
And the trouble here is, and I wonder if this is part of the DA's narrative as well, is that everything is politicized. I want to give you an example of the Tembisa situation, that protest where 4 people ended up dying. Yeah. The mayor of Ekurhuleni, who is a member of the DA as well, came out to say, well, this was as a result of the ANC disrupting the peaceful protest. So instead of listening to the immediate needs of the community, the situation was immediately politicized. And that is one of the biggest problems that we have in the country. So when you talk about this alternative, one would assume that it has to exclude itself entirely from politics. The DA says this, but as an example of Tembisa, it's clearly not what's practiced.
You know, the important thing is to center the people. You know, democracy is a government of the people. This democracy does not belong to political parties. It does not belong to politicians. It belongs to the people. And it cannot be that the only time the people of South Africa, the citizens, get to interact with the government is during the time of voting. We need to be regular. We need to hold not only politicians, including public officials, station commissioners, the people who are running the clinics, the principals in the schools, to say we want better communities where we can be able to raise our kids, we can be able to provide for our families and enjoy our freedom without fear. Because the important thing for me is this alternative that I'm talking about. It's not only going to be about marches, it's not only to be about petitions. It must, in the end, contest political power so that we change the entire political culture that currently exists in South Africa that exclude the people. Because if you look, Rufi, if you look at the political parties, and this is something that one reflects on to say, but at what point do you talk about the issues that affects the people? You know, not forget about existing to win elections. Yes, you must win elections to implement your programs. But part of winning the election, you must take the people along with you. And not everything when the people are unhappy should always be said that someone is trying to destabilize or something, because there are genuine concerns. South Africans are feeling unsafe. We all feel unsafe. When you are driving on the streets at night, you are always worrying who's on the other side, because We have politicized too much the public service, where instead of a police waking up in the morning to say, I must going to protect the community that I serve, they're trying to think, all right, what is the political angle? Will my political principle be happy? A police officer must the people that are happy with the service must be the community. It should not be the minister or the politicians. Yeah. The politicians must not be in the front. Yeah. The people must be in the front.
Yeah. What does your future look like? Are you going to be perhaps joining Mmusi Maimane's One South Africa movement? What alternative is it that you're looking to join at the moment?
I will not be joining any of the existing political parties.
I will
not be joining any of the existing movements. Mm-hmm. I believe South Africans across the board have been talking about a need for a new political alternative.
Are you going to establish that?
Not me as Ghana. Makashule Gana is not going to be on the billboard. Right. Makashule Gana is not going to be on the ballot. But there are South Africans that are genuinely concerned about the state of the country. And they say, you know what, it's time that we roll up our sleeves. What I bring into that group of South Africans is that I've got 20 years. I have organized, I've won elections, I've won campaigns. I bring that organizational skills and experience, and that's what I want to do. I want to organize so that the power returns to the people.
Right.
Because for the last 28 years, politicians have been slowly taking that power away from the people, and it's time that the power returns to the people.
We have run out of time, but I want to get your thoughts on the future of the DA. Is it still relevant in today's South Africa?
I left the DA this morning.
That's a no.
The DA will be able to speak for itself. I'm going to speak for the South African people and how best we can save South Africa and take South Africa into the path of growth, into a path where the people live without fear, a way in people are able to provide for themselves and their families. I believe it's time for the people to eat.
I mean, those are very interesting insights, and I just wonder, you say you bring 20 years of organizational experience to the fore, and it's not that you're going to necessarily establish your own movement or whatever it may be, but do you find that you'll be playing an active role in the build-up to 2024? Do you want to find yourself in some kind of government setting, creating and initiating policies that serve the people?
With the people.
With the
not only serve the people, it must be with the people. This democracy does not belong to political parties or politicians. It belongs to the people. The people of South Africa must rise and reclaim their power. Their power is not limited to voting. Their power extends beyond voting. And I believe it's time for South Africans to rise and say, you know what, we cannot allow this ship to sink further than it has sunk. For me, as Makashule Gana, I've got a 6-year-old son. On Tuesday, it was his birthday. And I ask myself on a daily basis, will I be able to leave behind a better South Africa for him and his generation than the one that I inherited? That's why I will not leave politics. I'm not leaving politics. I'm not taking a break. There's no sabbatical or anything. I'm going to work to build an alternative that's going to contest political power in 2024.
I want us to talk about issues, because we're speaking about the people, you know, that's
South African people.
The South African people, right? And one of the biggest issues here is the issue of Iscom and the government's inability to fix that state-owned utility. What are your thoughts and really the direction that we should be taking? Because electricity, water, basic necessities in South Africa that the government can't even provide.
You know, Rupia, I would have hoped that all South Africans at this particular moment will have tuned in to watch this interview. But as you and I know, many South Africans can't watch this interview, not because they don't have TVs. They have TVs, but there's no electricity. They don't have, because this culture of politics when people think that for me to be appointed into the state, I must belong to a particular party. For me to continue being an engineer at Iscom, I must support this or that. You know, I want, in my vision for South Africa, people who are employed in the state must be accountable to the South African people. And not believe that they are there because they support this party or that. You know, as a teacher, it should not matter whether the party that's there is party A or party B. Your job is to wake up in the morning to go and teach the kids to ensure that the kids get education. If you're a police officer, your job is to protect and serve each and every single day. We pay you to do that. If you believe that you can't do that, then take off your badge, take off your uniform. Other people are waiting to serve this country. We want people who are committed, who are ready to serve, who are ready to save this sinking ship. That's why I got my courage. And I'm asking all South Africans who believe that we can do this, because there's not going to be a Superman or Superwoman that's going to rescue us. We have to do it ourselves as a generation. You know, this situation does not, we should not wait and think that our parents, our grandparents can do this. They are old. We must allow them to rest. You know, this thing of thinking that people who fought for democracy, for liberation, can still get out of the mess that some of them created. It's not going to happen. It's up to us as a generation, as a people, to say, you know what, let's roll up our sleeves. We have a country to save. And I'm going to continue to work to leave behind a better South Africa than the one that I inherited.
Makashule, I want to talk a little bit more politics, if you'll have me do so. You speak about you had the courage and you had to run for a while to make the decision.
To reflect.
To reflect.
It's not easy to live 20 years.
No, it's not. It's 20 years. But do you find that maybe there was an issue of race relations that led to your exodus and that of other black young leaders that resided within the party for as long as they did?
The state of South Africa, where South Africa is.
I feel like you need to be direct with the question.
Is the one that made me to take the decision that I made. It's the state of South Africa. You know, like when I see the protests that are happening in Kagiso, when I see what's happening in Tembisa and other areas that are not being covered. You know, you might think that today the only protest that's taking place in South Africa is in Kagiso. But then if you were to really talk to the people, there are protests all over the place. People are unhappy with how government is responding, how government, the promises of democracy. You know, when our parents and grandparents were fighting for democracy, it was that we are going to live in a better country. But then many have stolen that dream. And it's up to us to restore that dream, to ensure that many South Africans can enjoy the fruit of this democracy. That's why I say it's time for the people to eat. They must enjoy the fruit of this democracy. This democracy, it cannot be that it depends on how much money you have. Because when you have money, you can have security, you can go to the private schools, you can use private medical facilities. And then if you are poor, you are left to fend for yourself. And sometimes when you raise these concerns, you have police that their first reaction is to shoot at you. Can't be. That's not South Africa that our parents and grandparents fought for. That's what had made me to leave the DA, so that we create an alternative that can at least make people enjoy the fruits of this democracy.
And put the people first, indeed. Thank you very much for your time. I wish we had more time to talk, but we have run out of time, and I appreciate you joining us this morning, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you on the scenes very soon. And good luck to you and whatever alternative you hope to join or establish at whatever point. Thank you very much.
I will not be joining any party. Thank you very much.
We'll see from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That is outgoing DA member Makashule Gana joining us now, giving us details on why he's decided to leave the DA and really just reasons he wants to focus on putting South Africans first.